Yeah, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Foundry VTT from the ground up. And in our last episode, so 2 episodes ago, I know I mentioned this, but I really was not pleased with how it ended up going. There were too many questions that I even had while trying to explain things, and I did not like that. So we're going to kind of pretend like, what was that, episode 1 never existed. This is not the episode you know about. So anyway, in this episode, I want to kind of go over those same things, at least start. I don't think we're going to get all the way through, but I did want to show you the features of uh, Foundry Virtual Tabletop. So let's go ahead and begin. So after we've loaded our tabletop or our application, we are greeted with this page right here. Not generally, there will be nothing in here. This is because I already have maps. There won't be any chats. This is all for example stuff in a future video probably. So let's just talk about this. So we have the Foundry anvil over here. Underneath it we have this little person, and this is when you are in play mode, you want to switch over to this. So anytime you click on these things, you'll get this little subsection right here, as you can see, that changes depending on what you've selected on the left. So this first one is your basic controls. So this is for selecting tokens. We can, select all the tokens on the screen here. We could also just select by clicking them individually. Control clicking them works as well. So there's various ways of selecting your tokens. This next one is for selecting a target. So if it's, say, Brindy's turn and she wants to select her target, we can click on that guy right there and it will select him as a target. You'll notice it has these little arrow things facing in towards him. We can also use this the same way we did before. We can actually select multiple targets. We can also do this through holding shift, and we can even target ourselves. For example, if we're doing a healing potion, or maybe we're doing a fireball right here, and unfortunately we're going to be affected also. So that is the target. The next one is the measured distance, and this is, you can start right from yourself and you can see distance from things. So 20 feet there, 20 feet there roughly. The fire pit over here is about 35 feet. So you can do that, and once you let go of the left mouse button, it disappears. So you can actually draw those however you want them. Now you'll notice this is actually doing the yellow color, and that's because the color right here for the GM is actually yellow. You can change those. We'll go over that later as to what color your default lines and stuff is going to be, but that's just why this is yellow. Yours might be a different color depending on what your default color is. Alright, so next we have the measurement controls, and I think these would be better as like effect controls, because these are all the different areas of effects that you have. For example, if I'm using a fireball, I can use the circle template here and I can draw out a fireball explosion. I can move this. Once I've changed it, you can't actually click on like this to make it bigger or smaller, which is kind of less than ideal, but it's doable. However, you can double click on it itself and change the values in here. So if I was like, oh, I didn't want that to be 26 feet, I want it to be 30, I can go ahead and change that. And once I do this, it says save the template, and now you'll see it's actually 30. Then I can move it wherever I want. Once again, the color of the actual area is based off of my color right down here. However, once again, it is changeable. You can come in here and say I want it to be a red. And once we hit save, now you can see it's a nice red. You can also apply not templates, but what is the word? Let's just double click, it'll say right here. Oh, template textures. Textures is the word I was looking for. Now I have some things that I use for spell effects in Fantasy Grounds. They don't work really well here, but they'll work well enough to help you understand uh, what this does. You would actually have to have ones more designed specifically for this. So if we go into my world, no, actually I think it was in just images. Where's my images? World, test world, there's my images. Or no, darn it, it's not in, it's right here, spell effects. So for example, I haven't tried this one before, but let's see, let's do like Fairy Fire. See what that does. Go down, hit select file, so that saves it. And then once we do it here, we can actually see we get the little Fairy Fire effect. Now, the ones I'm actually doing are 70 pixels by 70 pixels, so they're not actually auto stretching. And that would be kind of a nice feature in here, is to have something, if you're doing a template texture, to actually have it say stretch to fit, or scale to fit, whatever you want to say. Tile it, kind of like you can with windows and your backgrounds. You can tile them, you can stretch them to fit. You can just center it so that no matter how big this is, it only does it in the center. But this kind of gives you the idea all the same. You could definitely understand that, wow, Fairy Fire just covered this whole area. Not that that's how the Fairy Fire spell works, we're just using an example. You can also change the border color. So we could say, oh, I want the border yellow, an ugly yellow there. Let's see if we can find a better yellow up higher. I don't know, they're all kind of ugly. So, and then once again, once we hit that, it will go ahead and change the border. We can change the width of the border. Let's just go down this list. We can change the template type, which is the same thing as selecting the other ones. We have circle, we have the cone, we have the square, and we have the ray, or the line. So we could change these at any time in here. This is the initial position for this little thing right there. It's at 2050 on the X for this battle map, and 1350 on the Y. This is the direction it's facing. Really, that's not very important depending on the actual effect. I mean, maybe with a cone it could be more important. With a circle, not really. If an angle is available, you could add the angle degrees. That's probably for the cone, so you can actually make it so instead of just being like a 10 or whatever, we'll play with that in just a second. Then the distance we already went over. The width, this is talking about the width of, this would be probably with the ray. It would have the width value. I don't think, like if we say 20, I don't think that's going to do anything personally. No, which is kind of why it was grayed out. Let's go ahead and try and do this. We'll switch it over to a cone. And to be honest, I've never actually done this. Let's see what that does. Alright, so now we have a nice little cone. And it looks like it's a 90-degree angle. Let's see if we change the angle, say, to 45. Is this gonna... there's two things it could do. Well, no, direction would be the rotation. So let's see what that does. Yeah, just like we thought. So it actually makes it more narrow. I think the default is probably about a 40, no, probably about a 60, I don't know. Almost 60, 53, which is not what I expected. And then as we also are looking, we'll just go back in here again. Actually, we'll just draw a new one. To delete them is really easy. All you have to do is find the main thing, and if you mouse over it turns orange and you can just hit delete. Nice thing about this being its own type of layer is even if I'm clicking on here, it's ignoring the icons above it. So if I just mouse over this, hit delete, I can delete it really easily. Let's go ahead and try the ray and see if we're correct on the width thing. So here we have, my guess would be a width of 2. Well, now it's a width of 1. So let's go ahead and go in here and see. So there's the width is 5 feet, so that's clearly what that is. So if we said 10, now my question is it going to center off that center line, or is it going to choose to go above 5 feet or below 5 feet? My guess is it'll probably go off that line. Actually, I was wrong. It went 5 feet in each direction. That's interesting. Which actually is a total of 15 feet. So that is something to keep track of. Once again, this would be a nice thing also, like if I wanted the line to just be these two up here, maybe have some option of check boxes saying above, below, or the left, the right, I don't know. So anyway, this is our measurement tools. Then if we have a bunch of these things out on the table, and we don't want to go click on every single one to go delete it, we can actually just click on the trash can, say yes, and it will actually get rid of every one of them on the thing. The next thing is the tiles. Now you can actually use tiles to assemble like chunks of a map and actually kind of make your own map. It does do it on the tile layer, not necessarily on the battle map layer, but that might not be too big of a problem simply because when you're playing, you're actually up on the token layer. So as you can see here, we have this little blade in here. This is a tile, and you'll notice we can select it. Once again, we can add tiles however we want. We can select them with this. We can select multiple tiles if we had multiple on here. We can do lots and lots of stuff. Really neat thing also is this has Webm Support. So if we wanted to use kind of an animated Webm movie file, we could actually do that. So let's say we wanted to, you know, catch these barrels over here on fire. We can do this. We can come in here, and I actually have a Webm Flame. It's just a GIF that I converted into Webm. And if we go here, and I believe, did I put it in the worlds itself? I think I did. Gotta remember where I put it. So here we have Fire Webm. And here, once we hit OK, you'll see that now we have this little fire animation. And we can stretch it to make it look like, you know, it's burning a lot of stuff. We can move it around, and it's really cool. You can do this exact same thing with tokens, for example. Like if Brindy wanted to have a cooler looking token, we can go back to player mode, so we can select her icon here. And I found a little token that has a girl that has lightning flashing behind her. Once again, it looked cool, so I converted to Webm. There's lots of utilities out on the web. I think I just typed GIF to Webm. So it could be GIF or GIF depending on who you are. So we go to image here. We can go once again to our images, and there's our token Webm file. And maybe people call them Webms. I don't know. But now if we go look, now you'll see Brindy is this awesome looking animated token. And if we rotate her, so and I've seen other tokens that, you know, it looks like, you know, the creature's kind of idle, moving just slightly back and forth. So this is some really cool features about Foundry. I do apologize to people that watch this, because Fantasy Grounds and Foundry are so close in, I guess maybe because they start with an F, I mess it up constantly. So I apologize for that. So once again, we can do the animations, and that kind of got me off topic, but back to the tiles, we can add these tiles, and you know, if they're map components, you can stack them together and have them go. This right here is kind of a project I'm trying to figure out how I can do, which is animating it, because I've watched Foundry VTT's videos, and they're showing you how you can actually animate these tiles, and I do have a script in here. However, it appears that you have to have, for what I want to be able to turn it on and off. And in order to do that, I have to have a toggle switch, which means I need to have a flag, because every time I click that button, it would reset the value of whether it's spinning or not, without it actually changing it. So if I set it to 0, it would automatically be 0, and then it'd start spinning. I click it again, it sets it to 0 and then starts spinning, so I don't see it stop spinning. So anyway, long story short, you can add animations or add effects. I'm working on this. I know you can do it as a module, but I want to figure out a way that maybe I can find out what this actual image is called, because in here its name is, you know, its name is possibly this right here, but odds are it's actually giving it some kind of identifier that the computer knows it as. And if I could find out what that is, then I don't have to search the entire scene for this blade. Also, if I had multiple blades, that means the button would actually trigger all of them. But this is getting way out of the scope of where I want to go with this. This is just some things I'm thinking about. So that is pretty much in a nutshell this. There's also the tile browser. This is more for map components. So let's say these are pieces of a map that you can piece together. You can actually come in here and say select file, and then when you place that, I believe, actually I'm not sure why that one's there, but let's say for example we want to say what did I call that one? I think it's this one. So here you'll see it puts it there, and then we could open another one of it and paste it next to it, line them up so that, you know, we kind of assemble our own little map, which is kind of nice. Another thing about this is you'll notice that this is above this one. At least this is in the other one. Let me check if it's here. Actually, it's not here, so I'm not going to mention that. I'll mention it when we get into the drawing tool, what I was going to say, but that's actually interesting to me that it's not here. Oh, it's right here actually. So if you right click on it, this is the Z level. If you're not familiar with that, you have X, which is your horizontal, you have Y, which is your vertical, going up and down on this flat piece of paper, but then you have the Z, which is actually coming towards you. This is level. So if this were layers of cellophane paper, and on this one I had drawn a map, on this one I had this token, and so on and so forth, I could control, I can't grab that right now, but I could control which of these, I'm trying to see if I can do it here, which of these is on top based off of the Z level. So the Z level of Brindy here is higher than the Z level of the goblin right there. Let's go ahead and undo that. This will make more sense once we get into this next section. All right, so anyway, that's what you can do there. Let's go ahead and delete this. Where is your, oh, I'm not in the right layer. Helps to be in the right layer. But anyway, these also, like if you double click it, you get these basic options. It'd be nice also if you had the Z level options and stuff in there as well. However, it doesn't seem like you do. But if you right click it, you get these other options. So one is I can hide the object, so toggle its visibility. I can lock it so that it can no longer be moved. It cannot be modified. So now I can unlock it, and now you can see I can move it just fine. Hello, there we go. I can also change its Z level. So for example, I guess I should have kept that thing up. Let's go ahead and add our thing. I just don't want something so big. But let's go ahead and we'll just add right here another item. Maybe we'll even use another blade. I think that might be a good idea. So let's just do another blade trap. Go ahead and say update tile. And you'll see that here we have our other blade trap. Let's make it a little square. So you can see here that this blade is clearly below that blade. If we go ahead and click on this and then right click and tell it we want this one to go below, now you can see that the Z level of this one is lower than this one. So this one shows up on top. I really hope that makes sense to you. So anyway, that's pretty much this tool. The next one is the drawing tool, and this is actually a really cool tool as well. We're going to move over here to the side. So over here we can, for example, draw a square, and you'll see it says it's a square. If we draw another square, or maybe we'll actually change it to a circle in just a second, we could click on here, do it as a circle. We could do here and draw a polygon, which means we just draw our lines, and I can't see where that actually connects. And then we can click right there and then hit escape. Nope, that's middle click. It is ignoring me. Hold on, let's there. Right click and right click again. No, that undoes. Double click. That's what I remember. This is double click to do it. So anyway, you can see you can do the polygon tool. You also have the freehand tool. So if we wanted to draw like a wavy line, and you'll see it kind of fixes it up to make it so it's not jagged. I mean, obviously we have certain amounts of jagged, but you'll understand that in a minute. We have a text tool, so we can do the same thing. Then we have the configure the drawings. So this is the default values for drawings when you do them. You can set the color. Once again, colors based off of that down there. So the same thing, this also has the Z level, but I think, whoops, Control Z. All right, fine, just delete it. Let's do this one, and delete it. All right, so if we go in here, let's just play with this just a tiny bit. So one, we have our position, we have our XY positions, we have the width of it, the height of it, the rotation. So if we want to put it on a 45-degree angle, we can do that. And then we have our Z level, or our Z index. So we update that. Now you can see it is that way. Now here you can't really see which one's on top because they're the same color. But if we come in here and we change the line color to, say, I don't know, nice pinkish color, now you can clearly see that this yellow square is above that pink square. So once again, here's where you could do the Z level more manually. You could say, okay, well, this Z level is 1. Since this Z level is 0, that means it's on top. Now this can get a little hectic if you're doing this with a lot of stuff, because you have to kind of arrange the Z level the way you want it and make sure that everything, you know, like if I wanted this on top, well, now I would say, okay, well, I want this one to be, let's do this real quick. Lines, let's go ahead and make this one green. Update drawing. So we bring this one on top. Well, we can see that is on top, and we can see it's below this one. So the Z level of this, even though they're both 0, this one in memory or in the system is actually considered one level higher. So if we wanted to move this one up, that means, okay, well, that since that green one was 0, we can move this to 1. However, now we could stand a chance that it's going to conflict with this one, and that this one will actually be below that one again. So it can get pretty complex. Usually you probably won't use a Z level specifically on lots of stuff, but the ability's there. So let's go ahead and look at more of this stuff. So we have all our positioning information. We have our line information. This is the width of the line. If we want to make it 20, we can make it nice and fat, as you can see there. We can also change the color. We can use the RGB values, you know, so this is the R value, this is G, this is B, or you can just use the color picker, which will, you know, also give you the non-hex values just in decimal, and then also the hue, saturation, illumination. Maybe it's not illumination, I'm thinking wrong. We can also change the opacity of the thing, so you can see we can make it so, you know, it's about 0.5, it's halfway invisible, so we can still see through it. We can also change the smoothing factor. In a square, this really isn't very used at all. It's more in the freehand drawing, and we will show that in just a minute. The next thing we have, we'll go ahead and make this so it's not invisible anymore. We also have fill, so we can choose to have it be a fill type of a solid, So where that pink line is, inside it will fill it. Right now it will use this ugly yellow color, which actually is semi-opaque or semi-transparent, depending how you look at it. So we can change that. We can also, it says, now I'm not 100% sure how this one works because I didn't get it to work when I tried it, but we can also say do a pattern instead. And if we go in here, let's just do, well, maybe blade trap. Let's see what that does. I don't think I'll do anything personally. Oh, well, I guess it did in this case. So now you can see there's our blade trap, and you'll also notice that it's got a yellow tint to it because that's that tint color we chose. So, but once again, it does not have like a stretch to fit. It doesn't have a tile. It doesn't have any of those other options, which would be really nice. And because this is all JavaScript based, you know, through web technologies, it is doable. You just have to take the time to figure it out. So that is pretty much our fills. The last thing we have here is our text. So this is the name. We could, you know, well, we have lots of things down here that say they're square when they're not. I don't know if the default, maybe the default is set in here to say square. Shape. Let's change it to shape. And then say, probably that one. And now if we draw a square, yep, now it's a shape. So this is also where you can set, you can override what the default colors are. Let's go ahead and delete that one. So let's see, so inside, let's go back. Oh, I'm not in selection mode. Inside here, as soon as it decides to pull up. Hello. Hello. All right, let's try clicking that. No. There we go. We'll do it with this one then. We'll just learn as we go. So as you can see, you have font family. It doesn't have all the fonts you could imagine on your system. As you can see, we have Arial, Arial Black, Comic Sans MS, Courier New Times Roman, and Signica. So we do have those fonts, but that's it. Let's see. And then once again, we have the option, we have all these different things. Oh, whoops, we didn't do this freehand one. This is what else I wanted to go over. So then right here with our squiggle line here, the only real feature here that's any different, everything else is different, is this is where you could use that smoothing factor. So just to show you, if we set the smoothing factor to 0 and update this, you'll see it holds its kind of shape, but the smoothness of transitions from line segments will get more jagged. Actually, I think I did that backwards. I want to go this way. There you go. So hopefully that makes sense. Like, so for example, you know, it's kind of looking at this, and then we kind of have this straight edge here. We have straight edges where it's not so rounded and smooth. Whereas we come here, change it back to 0, and I see it's nice and smooth. You know, it still holds the same shape that I originally gave it, but it tries smoothing out any jagged edges where the line direction changes. Maybe that's the best way to say it. All right, guys, so this is pretty much where I wanted to get for this episode, is at least get through these, because the walls, the lighting, the sound, this one's nothing, not much, it's just journal entries, are going to take a good amount of time to describe them completely. So this is it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you understand what these things are doing and how they work and function. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. But anyway, aside from those things, comment, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, check out my Discord and my other channels. Don't forget, my great big game giveaway. We have reached 1,000 subs. In fact, I think we're almost at 1,060 now. And on July 1st, I'm going to go ahead and do the game giveaway, and it will be based off of people that are in my Discord. And I've mentioned in many videos why that is. It has everything to do with subscribers in YouTube can be private or public, and if you're a private subscriber, you basically are forfeiting the ability to have one of those games. So for those of you who are new, that's 57 games that are from Steam that I'm giving away. I'm also giving away one copy of Fantasy Grounds Classic Standard Edition, which is great to advertise on a Foundry video. But there you go. And all you have to do to be eligible is join my Discord. I will pop up the information right nowish on the screen. Hopefully it pops up. And join my Discord. And that's it. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.